This is SSN
Story Studio Network.
Welcome to the Fatigue Fixer podcast. Have you ever wondered why you and most of the women you know seem tired so much of the time? Well, this is the podcast where we explore why. I'm here to help you better understand how your body works, whether we're talking about heavy, painful periods, why you have to pee all the time, or what the heck is happening to your body through perimenopause. And I'm not afraid to shed light on conversations that I feel we need to be having out in the open. Like, why are so many women struggling with irritability and anger, drinking more alcohol, and injecting our faces with Botox and fillers in an attempt to stay young? I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Vadeboncoeur. I'm a naturopathic doctor, mom, fatigue fixer, and loud and outspoken woman who's fascinated by the state of modern women's health and well-being. I know that you, yes, you, are incredible, and I want you to have the energy you need to share your unique gifts with the world because we are in desperate need of more female leadership. So join me for conversations that will help you feel less alone, more informed about all the things that might be draining your energy, and inspired to fix your fatigue and wake up every morning feeling rested and excited for the day ahead. I can't wait to share today's episode with you, so let's get into it. Pilates isn't enough. That's what our guest today said to me over lunch about 8 months ago, and I knew she was right. I've been doing reformer Pilates for over 5 years, and I love it, and it's an exercise that feels great for my body. I find it meditative, and it has been a great form of strength training for me. And this is not to shame anyone doing Pilates. All types of exercise are good. However, if one of your goals is to get and stay strong as possible, especially after the age of 40, you need to make sure that you're including exercise that stresses your muscles enough to prevent the loss of muscle and the loss of strength that happens as we age. So after that conversation, I took her up on the challenge and started doing some heavy lifting, and I haven't looked back. If you're past the age of 35, I hate to break it to you, but you are losing muscle. And that not only impacts what your body looks and feels like right now, but how likely you are to be able to lift your suitcase into the overhead compartment at 70 or be able to get on and off the toilet by yourself at 80. This is the one where you're stronger than you think. And my guest today is Kate Laird. Kate is a personal trainer and the owner of Love Your Body Fitness, and she understands what it's like to be busy. She is a repartnered single mom who runs her own business and continues to prioritize her own fitness. And she is one of the big reasons why I am as strong as I am today, and that is something I want for all of you. Kate, welcome to the Fatigue Fixer.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. One of the reasons I think we connected right away is that we're both really passionate about helping women not just appreciate, but actually love the body they're in.
Yes.
And I was so sad a few years ago to learn the term normative discontent. And this basically is a way of describing the state of affairs where women are so perpetually dissatisfied with their body that it's not even seen as a problem because it's so normal and so acceptable.
Yeah.
And I heard about you long before we met. And part of what I knew right away was that I loved the name of your gym, Love Your Body. So what prompted you to name your gym that?
Well, so I've been in the fitness industry for 20 years, and then my mother was in the fitness industry for 40. So I grew up watching, aerobics classes, leotards and thongs on top and belts and leg warmers, like
Jane Fonda videos, anyone?
Yes, all of that.
Yes. Yep.
And what I figured out early in my fitness career was that my industry was teaching women to hate their bodies. Every fitness program out there is designed to help people hate their bodies into being skinny, the ridiculous dieting programs, 30-day fixes. I can go on a very long tangent about if anyone tells you there's a 30-day fix for something, run the other way, fast and scared. Nothing
It's
can be fixed
true.
in 30 days, but you can cause a lot of problems. And most of the gyms that I worked on in my early days would literally teach us how to body shame people into buying packages. And you know, you hear, I mean, I still see it in advertising, you know, with gym owners that I really like, people who say things like, you know, bodies are made in the winter and all of that crap. Like, exercise is for every other reason. If you exercise a lot, you usually look pretty good. But if that is the reason why you're exercising, you're probably not going to be able to stay committed. You know, I exercise personally, and everyone has their whys, but I have exercised because I've had hip pain my entire life. And if I exercise, it keeps my pain in check and keeps me able to do things. I don't sleep well if I don't exercise. I'm pretty cranky if I don't exercise. I have a hard time focusing and accomplishing tasks if I don't exercise. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I also really love to ski and hike, bike, go for long walks. And I want to always be able to do those things that I really, really love doing. And if I don't exercise, then at some point I will no longer be able to do them. So, yes, absolutely. It's great to feel good in your own skin, but that's going to happen more from consistently doing things that nurture and love your body, not from I'm not okay the way I am and I need to do this drastic thing to change it.
I couldn't agree more. And I was having this conversation with a patient literally in the last couple of days. And one is this idea that weight loss is like 100% in your control. And so we think if I just do the exercise, I'm going to get the weight loss or the body change that I want. And then if that doesn't show up as quickly as we want, and most of us have completely unrealistic expectations, going back to the 30 days, nothing is really going to change in 30 days.
No.
So if we don't see things moving as soon as we start exercising, we call it a failure. And then we lose our motivation because we're like, what's the point? I'm not getting the outcome.
Yeah, totally.
Instead of, like you said, using exercise as a way of helping your body function and to allow you to do all the things that you want to do.
And really, like, if weight loss, and it's okay for weight loss to be a motivation, especially if you've got sore knees and you're carrying around extra weight, like, that's okay. Yeah. But realistically, if you are exercising consistently and making some really great lifestyle changes, you're going to be a smaller person in a year. And if you keep at it, you'll probably be a smaller person again in 2 years. And your body is going to slowly and gently shift into being a healthier version of itself. But you actually never have to focus on the weight. You have to focus on figuring out how you can consistently exercise your body, making sure you have the right number of rest days, and how you can eat well, give your body all the nutrients that it needs, and still enjoy some tasty treats, because that's a really important part of life and a very important part of anyone's healthy eating program. But it's so much about shifting the focus away from the scale and the weight and into building healthy, sustainable routines and habits that you can stick with long term. Yeah. And it brings you joy, right? Like, it's got to bring you joy. You got to feel good when you do it. Or like really bad. I like to do workouts that make me feel really bad, but then like really good after.
I'm not there yet. I like it to still feel pretty good. But this is such an important part because, so as I said, I'm a fairly consistent exerciser, and I've been doing Pilates twice a week for at least 5 years. Plus I walk, and then I added the strength training.
Which is great.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. And honestly, part of my success is that I only aimed for twice a week. And I did that consciously. If I was aiming to do Pilates 5 times a week, I bet you I would actually end up going less than twice a week. A lot of times we set our goals way too high.
Way too high.
And you'd be better off choosing a lower goal that you actually are gonna do long-term consistently.
Totally. Well, and also what happens in your brain when you set a goal and don't reach it is really different than what happens in your brain when you set a goal and reach it. So if you set a very achievable goal, you're going to feel really good and you're going to be able to continue doing that. And then if you can layer on 1 or 2 more, attainable things, you can build it. So if you want to exercise 5 days a week, that's a great goal. But Start with two.
Don't exactly.
Right?
I do this all the time. I ask my patients, I'm like, how many days are you going to go for a week? They're like 5. I'm like, can we start with 2? And I think this goes back to like the all or nothing thinking we have. We think unless I'm doing it 5 days a week and I'm sweating and I want to vomit at the end, like there's no point in doing it. And every little bit counts. Again, especially if you're thinking long term, all of those little things over time really add up.
Yeah, they do. They do. So I'm right now recovering from having both my hips replaced 4 weeks ago. And so my workouts do not resemble my old workouts. And I have spent a lot of time in my life being an all or nothing kind of person, but I've done a lot of work on that. So right now I'm working on patiently working through my physio exercises so that I can heal and get better and be strong. But it would be so easy for the old version of me, that super type A, all or nothing person, to be like, there's no point. This is all dumb. Like, none of this is hard. I'm doing literally nothing for my body. But luckily I've really worked hard on that piece, and I am very consistently showing up and doing 60 to 120 minutes of really gentle things and all my physio exercise, riding my bike. And that's what's going to help me recover so I can go back to doing all the stuff that I want to do. Doing nothing and then doing everything will be a recipe for disaster, you know?
Yeah. And this is something I wanted to ask you about, because I've been kind of following and watching your journey since you had your hip replacement. And all I keep thinking about is that instead of training for like the summer body or the bikini body or whatever else kind of like aesthetic goals we have, all I keep thinking about for you is like, you're training for your life. Like, you trained so that walking into this surgery, you were as strong and healthy as possible.
Yeah.
Which makes probably the surgery go better.
Yeah.
And your recovery is going to be infinitely different. So it's like, we need to really reframe why we exercise. I have really shifted, and I think this probably started in and around when I hit 40 a couple of years ago. Literally, my motivation now, because I live by a building that has a lot of elderly people and I see them. My goal for exercise is I want to be able to carry my own groceries when I'm 80 years old.
That's such a great goal.
That's what I'm training for. I don't want to be using a walker and hunched over and not able to hold a grocery bag.
Totally. So a conversation that I regularly have with people all over the place, because it's funny, if I tell people I'm a fitness professional, usually they start to tell me all the reasons why they don't exercise. And it's, you know, like I'm at a party or something, it's really funny. And I'm like, that's okay, you know, you do you. But what I often hear from women is like, I just don't have time because I'm prioritizing my children right now. And I'm like, until you become a burden on them, right? Like, you being able to carry your groceries when you're 80, Sarah, means that you're not going to have to call your kids to come and help you when you need to do stuff. So it's not prioritizing your kids and your family when you put yourself dead last on the list and you don't take care of yourself and do the things so that your body can stay healthy and strong long term. And even, you know, I just had both my hips replaced. None of us ever know when we're going to come across some kind of an injury or a health issue. I've got a friend who's in her 30s going through breast cancer right now. And if we are strong and healthy going into that, our chances of going through it more easily and recovering well are significantly higher. And so again, you're taking a big burden off of your family. I was walking without a cane 2 weeks post-op. That's not normal.
No,
you're not normal at all. And I trained for the surgery. So
exactly. Well, and the other thing is that it's not just that we're going to be less of a burden when we're 80 years old. We're also modeling for our kids. And I think we forget this. Kids are watching everything you do. Yeah. And so most of us want our kids to be healthy. And I think a lot of us want our kids to be active.
Yes.
Are we showing them what that looks like? Are we showing them how to be active when you have a full-time job and you have lots of commitments, right?
Totally. And even like thinking of teaching them mom's role in the family. Like, are we teaching our daughters that their jobs are to completely neglect themselves and take care of everybody else? Are we teaching our sons, and I just said something super assumptive of sexuality, but are we teaching our sons that that's mom's role in the family, right? We really want to teach all of our kids that all people deserve to feel good and be healthy and deserve to make the time to do whatever needs to be done so that they can be strong and live a long, healthy life.
Yeah, because how many of us are spending our time driving our kids to their sports activities, or we're holding down the fort while our partner goes and plays the golf and the hockey, and then we're like, oh, I have no time. Why is our physical activity less important than little Johnny's baseball and partner's golf? Like, it should be just as important. And we don't prioritize it in the same way. It drives me insane.
Yeah. Even I know so many moms who'll spend like, they've got their kids in the hockey and like they spend like a fortune on hockey and then they can't afford a gym membership. I'm like, what? You're spending how much a month on your kids and you can't spend, $200 a month on yourself? It's all, I don't know. The priorities definitely need to shift there because it's in everybody's best interest. And we deserve it, right? We deserve to feel good and be healthy.
We do. And it's not just that we deserve it. It's that if we don't prioritize it, there's a very heavy cost coming our way.
Yes.
And I don't like to motivate people through fear, but I think women need to understand what is going to happen to our muscle mass as we get older.
Yes.
Because it starts to drop in our mid-30s. We start to lose muscle in our mid-30s. By the time we are 40, we are losing about 8% of our muscle per decade. And then after the age of 70, that increases to 15% loss. And if you lose about 30% of your muscle, that is where you are going to have a hard time living independently. You are not going to be traveling in Europe and getting your own groceries. You're going to be having people have to take care of you.
Yeah.
And women lose muscle at a much faster rate than men. And especially when we look at that window. So there's like a 4-year window that surrounds our last menstrual period.
Yeah.
So for most women, that's going to be somewhere in our like late 40s to early 50s. The loss of muscle and bone and the increase in fat mass in that window is dramatic. And I think sadly, that's often when women start to want to exercise because now they're like seeing things that they don't like. Yeah. And we lose such an opportunity to build and maintain muscle in our 40s if we're kind of waiting later to build it.
Totally. And I think this is really cool, but I'm significantly stronger. I mean, not in this moment because I'm just recovering from surgery, but I'm significantly stronger in my 40s than I was, as a mother, than I was when I was a 25-year-old full-time fitness professional and I did nothing but exercise all day. Like significantly. I'm pretty sure I can deadlift more than twice as much as I could when I was 25.
So can we talk about that? Because that's why I wanted this episode to be called that. Like women are so much stronger than we think. And
so strong.
That's one thing, like when I'm training at your gym and my trainer puts weights on and is like, you're going to deadlift this. I'm like, there's no way. I'm not going to be able to do that. And I'm like, I am shocking myself every time I go in there. And the other thing that's super cool is when I go to my Pilates now, I'm able to move so much more weight. Yeah. So I know I'm getting stronger because I can see that happening.
Yeah.
So can we talk about this? Number one, how a lot of women are not maybe lifting as heavy as they could, or maybe as heavy as we want. So talk to me about like, why did you kind of talk about the Pilates not being enough? And what should women maybe be thinking about if one of our goals is to be strong and maintain muscle mass?
So number one, it's really important to recognize that women's muscle fibers are just as strong as men's muscle fibers. We just have less. So we have less muscle fibers in our body, but they are just as strong. But women, I think, have been taught forever that fitness is to be thin and to look a certain way. And there's been a lot of talk, like, my eyes start twitching when I hear the word like toning. I don't want to get bulky. I just want to tone. Like, what does that even mean? Toning literally means reducing body fat and increasing muscle mass.
Yeah.
And nobody like really important. Listen, please. Nobody gets super jacked. Like women do not get super jacked, really big muscles by accident. It's kind of like buying a Porsche and worrying that you're accidentally going to become a NASCAR race car driver. Like it does not, like, oops, like that does not happen. The women who are really, really strong and built are training in a specific way. They're eating like 250 grams of protein a day. It will not happen. And frankly, I'm always trying to put more muscle on my body, and I work really hard at it. And I am not super jacked, you know?
Yeah.
So that does not happen. And what you just said about women losing muscle mass after the age of 35, it's happening fast. And if we don't bring strength training into our lives, we are going to see that muscle mass decline regardless of the other activities that we're doing. So, you know, when you're 25, you can do Pilates and yoga and like run and have nice muscle tone in your body and maintain a really healthy body weight and all of that. But that changes. By your 40s, it won't be enough. And you're going to start to get injured. I see it in runners all the time. You see women in their 40s when they're running, their little bums get smaller and smaller and their shoulders round, right? And then these guys really start to feel like the back injuries and the knee injuries. And this is, you know, I get a lot of that age group coming in thinking that they need to stop running. And actually, they just need to start doing full range functional strength training, and we can usually get them running again, and then they can do the thing they love and run forever. But strength training is going to enhance anything that you're doing. So from a health perspective, it's going to help you build your bones. It's going to put muscles around your bones to protect you if you ever have an impact fall. It's going to help you with your balance and coordination so you're less likely to fall and hurt yourself. We need to be doing that work now to protect ourselves from osteoporosis later. But it's also going to enhance every single activity we do, from Pilates to running to skiing to hiking, like whatever it is you want to do. If you want to keep doing it, it's time to bring functional strength training into your life. I hate to say it, it's even going to significantly enhance your sex life, which is an important part of everyone's marriage. You know, if that stuff starts to fall, it can often be pretty impactful on the entire relationship. So full range of motion, functional strength training could actually save your marriage. Like it's going to impact everything. I want to be able to poop without assistance when I'm old.
Yeah.
You want to be able to carry your groceries. I want to poop. I used to train this guy who did medical equipment sales with nursing homes, and he would sell them piles of adult diapers and butt plugs, because the people that were really incontinent back there, they'd actually plug them up. Can you imagine?
God. No.
And I was like, note to self, keep exercising and keep strengthening my pelvic floor, because not to shame anybody who needs those things at all. There's so many reasons why people might need those things. But if I can prevent that from happening by taking care of myself now, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. That for me is far more motivating than any like bikini body action.
Totally. And then one more thing.
Yeah.
How good do you feel after you strength train? Like you feel powerful, you feel strong, you feel in control, you feel like you can do anything. And women in their 40s and 50s, like the perimenopause and menopause years, are some of the hardest on our mental health. Anxiety, the sleeping issues, right? Like so many things. And strength training makes you feel so good in your brain and in your body.
You just took the words that I was going to say, which is like the confidence that I feel since I've started lifting heavy shit. It not just is confidence in my physical body, but that confidence translates into other parts of your life. And it's not just me, because I hear this from a lot of my patients who strength train. They're like, I just feel so powerful and so good.
Yeah. And moving away from, you know, that like, I just always need to lose 5 pounds. Like I'm never good enough. I just always need to lose 5 pounds. Like it's one of the best ways to get people off of that track where they're never happy with their body and they're constantly judging it by what it looks like and how big it is like, what if you could just focus on what your body could do and just feel so proud of your body for what it can do?
Yeah. And measure your success as getting stronger or getting faster, not weighing less. Because if I was measuring my journey with the scale, my journey technically is a failure because I haven't lost. If anything, I've probably gained a few pounds.
Right.
But I don't care most of the time because
you feel so good.
Because I feel so good and I'm strong. And again, I am not training to lose weight. I am training to be strong and independent and be as healthy as I can right now in my 40s. And again, be able to carry my groceries when I'm 80.
Totally. And you train at my gym. And that's one of the reasons why we have no mirrors in my gym, right? Is we're trying to teach women in particular to measure their fitness progress by lifting something heavier, learning a new skill, doing something faster. Like when I get people who are like, I just did my first perfect push-up off the floor, right? They haven't been able to do them their entire lives and they're in their 40s or 50s. And they're like, I just did my first full push-up off the floor. It's so exciting. Or their first pull-up, right? It's amazing. And you're so proud of yourself. Meanwhile, all the other gyms that have mirrors, everyone's just comparing themselves to everybody else in their sports bra and feeling bad about themselves, right? You notice a roll hanging over the side of your pants, like get over it.
Yeah. That was one of my questions. So you already answered it, why there's no mirrors.
Yeah.
So what do you say? I had a patient say this to me the other day. Like, what do you say to women who are exercising, but who say things like, I don't look like I work out, right?
Well,
They're like expecting a certain look to show up. How do you manage that?
I mean, we're all starting with different bodies. Like, you can look at our parents. There's a lot of genetics involved in it. I really like to teach people to focus on what they're putting into their fitness and health programs and then trying to love their bodies with whatever comes out of that, So when people are really wanting to see change, I kind of first need to do an analysis of like, is this someone who's carrying around 80 extra pounds and is really suffering because of that? And we really need to help them lose some weight. Or usually it's someone who's probably been taught, that low fat dieting and diet culture is the way to go. And has been taught that they're never okay how they are and they always have to be unhappy with their body, right? And so a lot of it can be fixed through education around, like, let's look at how you're fueling your body, right? Let's make sure you're having breakfast every day, that you're getting like, oh, please, at least 100 grams of protein a day, but really we need more, significantly more. There should be protein with every meal. You should be having a high protein snack at some point throughout the day, right? How many hours of sleep are you getting? What are you doing to reduce stress in your life? Are you taking rest days? If people are working out 7 days a week and not eating enough, their bodies are going to actually be putting on more weight rather than dropping it. So I usually start from the education place, like making sure that they are exercising appropriately, the right number of days a week, right number of rest days. Then we get into fueling. And then along the way, there's a lot of work on trying to let go of whatever standard you've put on yourself because society has taught you to do that. It's so hard, right? Like the celebrities we see on TV, I mean, frankly, most of them are really unhealthy, right? They're like starving. They're so hungry.
Yeah. Well, and now everybody's also on Ozempic. So
and they're all on Ozempic, exactly. And the magazines, like everything we see is Photoshop. There's a fitness professional in our neighborhood that I know who I've actually seen her Photoshopping like her pictures before she posts them. And so we're kind of surrounded by like this, like nobody has cellulite, nobody has rolls, that stuff's not okay. And I don't know, like I've ranged between 15 and 18% body fat my whole life. And I can tell you that I've always had some cellulite and I've always had rolls. Like if you don't have rolls, you can't bend. Like it's
true.
all there, right? So it's hard. It's hard to help people let go of that. But I've got to say, moving people away from the kind of like, typical girl fitness that's all around like toning and all of that, and into like, what can you actually pick up? Like, let's see how much you can deadlift today. It takes some time, but it can be a really big shift in how people feel about their bodies and what their goals around their bodies are.
Yeah.
you know?
I think so much of this is learned, right? That these images that we've associated of people who are fit look a certain way, or people who exercise look a certain way. And if you've ever watched a marathon, I think a marathon is a perfect example of seeing people who are all running that same 42.2 kilometers
Yeah.
and look at all the different body shapes
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah, totally.
So it's not like your body's, there's no guarantee that your body's going to look a certain way because you exercise. And again, when you make that your main goal and the reason you exercise, that is part of why you lose motivation. Because if it doesn't happen, you now have lost your kind of main reason why you're doing it.
Totally. And you know what? The thing is that everybody who's, long-term exercising regularly and fueling their bodies well, they tend to feel really good and they just glow and they're happy. And whatever shape or size they are, they actually really look good. And so I think if we could get away from like trying to look a certain way and just focus on like, what does my week need to look like? How many times a week do I need to exercise? What strategies do I need to put in place so that I can keep prioritizing that? What else do I need to do to prioritize getting a little bit more sleep, right? Like just really focusing on doing all of the things, in a slow, sustainable building habits kind of way, so that you're feeling your best. And the looks are kind of the cherry on top, but getting you feeling really good is the most important thing. And frankly, if you feel really good, you look good. So you don't have to worry about that extra 10 pounds on your thighs. Who cares?
Yeah. And realistically, most of us, even when we were thinner, we didn't like our bodies. So I don't know why we still think that weight loss is the ticket to feeling good. If you didn't feel good when you were 20 and 25 and whatever weight you were, you're not going to magically feel better now if you get back.
God, no. I was, in my early days as a fitness professional, I used to exercise like 3 hours. I did like an hour or two of weights and an hour or two of cardio every day. And then I would eat no more than 1,200 calories. I like recorded everything I ate. It was almost all protein. I ate no carbs. There was never a time ever that I was happy with my body, that I didn't think I need to lose more weight. I had my body fat measured weekly. Like, I'm ashamed to tell you all of this, but that's reality. I mean, growing up in the fitness world and can be like, it was really toxic for me. And I had so much stuff that I had to let go of. And so now I'm running about, 15 to 20 pounds heavier than I did in my 20s. I don't care about, whether I'm a size 6 or a size, like, I don't care. Doesn't matter. If I go to try on clothes and like the size I normally wear doesn't fit me and I go to the other size, I don't care. It's great. I can lift way more weight. I feel good in my skin. I'm in a bikini with my stretch marks on my belly. It's just so great to let go of that.
Yeah. So for the women who are listening, who are maybe in their 40s or early 50s and now are like, okay, I really do want to be mindful of muscle and strength. What are some of the types of exercises that we need to think about including in our week?
So squats, because we all need to be able to sit down, set up. Deadlifts, because we all need to bend over and pick things up. And sometimes people say, oh, I don't deadlift because I have a bad back. Well, if you've got a bad back, you extra need to learn how to deadlift safely and properly, because I guarantee you're not going to go through your life without picking things up, and you'll probably hurt yourself, picking a pen up off the floor if you don't get really, really good and strong at that movement. We all need to be able to press. So, be able to push something over your head. I really like something of a burpee kind of motion, where some version of being able to lie down on the ground and stand up again, and something pulling, a row, a supported pull-up, something like that. And that's moving your body all the directions that it's meant to move. And it's mimicking all the things you might have to do with your body in your life. And then when we're looking at actual proper strength training, you want to be working with weights that you can only do kind of 7 reps or less of. The more advanced you get, like, I don't take somebody who's brand new to fitness and ask them to do a 1 rep max on something that wouldn't be safe. But, I've been doing this for 20 something years at this point. I do 1 rep maxes all the time, where I do 1 rep and I rest for like 3 minutes. And then I do 1 rep and I rest for 3 minutes. That real actual strength training. So, a lot of people really like the circuit training classes. They're really fun. We actually have one once a week on Saturdays at my gym. It's circuit training day. And those classes are like so fun, sweaty, get out of your head. They're really, really great. But if that's your primary source of strength training, like a circuit training type class, you're not actually getting what you need to really pull on those bones and really build some muscle mass. And again, like I said before, building muscle mass does not mean you're going to be all, bulky and manly looking at all. It's just going to help you keep a healthy body composition your whole life. So I really want women to find a place where they can learn how to do proper strength training, proper weightlifting, with good technique and the appropriate amount of weight and rest periods and low rep schemes. If you can do like 8 or more of something, you're really more in like a cardio endurance place, not in a strength building, muscle building place.
Yeah. And most of us can ditch our 5 and 10 pound pink dumbbells
Yes.
and lift heavier shit.
Yes. Pick it up.
Because again, you're stronger than you think. And the other thing we need to think about is that if you want to be able to do something when you're 70 and 80, you need to way overshoot that right now. You can't just aim. If your goal is to be able to lift a suitcase, you can't have your goal right now to be able to lift a suitcase. No. You need to be able to lift like double the weight of that suitcase. If you want to. I
call this putting muscles in the bank. Because like we all save for retirement, right? We're all trying to put money in the bank so that when we stop working, we have money to live on. Well, it's the same thing with muscles. You have to put a lot of muscles in the bank because number one, our muscles get taxed every year, right? With our muscle mass loss. And number two, you never know when you're going to go through a surgery or an injury or an illness that has you not exercising for a while. And the more muscles you have in the bank, the less depleted you'll be on the other side. And then the same thing for our senior years. Like we need to hit our senior years with lots of muscles in the bank. Because as you said, after the age of 70, your muscle mass starts to drop even more. And if you're starting with next to no muscle, you're kind of screwed, right? Like that's where people are like not able to drive, not able to get up and down the stairs. Their families have to come in and move them to a home. Like it's, you want to push that off for as long as possible. You got to put muscles in the bank.
I love that. It's such great advice. And again, I think so much of this conversation is about changing our perspective about how we treat our bodies, how we view our bodies, and how we use exercise as a tool to support our bodies as opposed to shrink. Because one of the reasons I find this topic so interesting is that I see the energy, and I'm sure you see it too, the mental energy, the money, the time that women have spent and continue to spend trying to make our bodies smaller.
Yes.
And I just I refuse, like I'm 42. So I spent the first half of my life doing a lot of that shit. And I refuse to spend the second half of my life continuing to do that. Yeah. I want to put my energy on, again, like staying strong and healthy and living independently. So where do you see women maybe like not maybe wasting time or energy when it comes to exercise? Like where are we putting our energy or time maybe in some of the wrong places? Where can we redirect?
Well, that's a tricky question because I think just like, your love of Pilates, I think that anything where you're moving your body, if you enjoy doing it, is really valuable. And if you like it, you're likely to do it. And that can help you with consistency, right? So I'm not going to say that there's anything that people shouldn't be doing, but like it or not, you should bring strength training into your life. And I got to say that I don't see anyone leaving my gym without having a smile on their face. If you don't think you like strength training or you don't think you like gyms, just come in because we do make it really accessible and we also make it really fun. And we've got some crazy athletes in the gym. We've also got some brand new beginners. And I promise you, when you bring strength training, real strength training into your life, it will enhance all your other activities. Like I dance twice a week. I do ballet and I do tap. And I love it. It's piles of fun. It's, barely exercise. It's just like the only reason I'm there is for joy. If that was my only form of exercise during the week, it would not be cutting it at all. But you know what? My strength training helps me with that. And I will probably be able to keep doing it long into my life because of my strength training, right? It's just do all the things you love. But if you're 35 or older, add strength training minimum twice a weekend because it's going to keep you able to do whatever activity it is that brings you so much joy, hopefully forever.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I need to say this because I know this will be a question people have. There's this weird wellness trend right now about people being scared of cardio because they're being told cardio is going to raise their cortisol, and cortisol is the cause of all our problems.
Oh my God.
Thank you. Oh my God. So can we just be very clear here? That is not happening, okay? Cardio is not raising your overall cortisol levels. We all need cardio, but again, cardio shouldn't be necessarily the only type of exercise we should do, but we all need cardio.
We all need cardio. Your heart is a really important part of your body, like really, really important part. And then also, our cardio, it's going to be one of our really good sources of endorphins and all of those feel-good chemicals. And then there's a really great book that I just think everybody should read. It's super easy read. It's called Move the Body, Heal the Mind. And the author is Jennifer Weiner. I'll send it to you. You can link it. And the book is about her journey of going through an awful divorce and really feeling terrible and not getting out of bed for like a year and then wanting to retrain her body. So she decided to train for a marathon, blah, blah, blah. She, through training for a marathon, realized that it was healing her brain and her depression and all of that. And then she's like a super geeky PhD in kinesiology. So she decided to study the effects of exercise on your mental health, but all the specific different types of mental health issues. And I actually brought her in to talk to my team because she's so brilliant. But what she told me was that absolutely there's a cortisol release during a hard cardio workout, but that is followed by your body releasing the chemicals that it needs to bring the cortisol out of your body. And so just like we stress our muscles and then let them rest and fuel them to make them stronger, we're actually toning our nervous system and our stress system and all of the cortisol stuff by exercising and giving yourself those short controlled bursts of stress and then letting your body bring the stress away. So I've come across it several times with clients where they've gone in to see usually a naturopath who's told them that they're, burnt out and their cortisol levels are too high and that they shouldn't be exercising at all. And I'm like, oh my God. Usually these people are like really, really overworking in their life. And I'm like, the only time these women do something for themselves is when they come to the gym, and they're not going to spend that hour that they're not at the gym, like meditating. They're going to work more. And it drives me insane.
It drives me insane too. So, yeah. And what frustrates me the most is that most women are too sedentary.
Yes.
And all we're doing with this stupid cortisol crap is we're giving another reason for women to be afraid of exercise and afraid of weight gain.
Yes.
It's infuriating.
Yes, it is. So if your naturopath tells you need to rest more,
fire your naturopath
and hire Sarah.
That's right.
and come to my gym, and that being said, like I love when anyone who's going through big stressful periods in their life and their cortisol levels are a little too high, I love when they're doing personal training because we can really deliver exactly what they need into a session, which is usually a lot of like mobility work and physio type work. And we will gear the session to meet them where they're at in terms of energy, because people are different. Frankly, when I'm really stressed out, I like disgusting, revolting, you want to puke workout is like the best thing for me. But a lot of people aren't like that. And so if you can deliver them a more moderate, something they can really be successful and feel good about, it can really change how they feel and really improve their cortisol levels. So yeah, like if you hear that from anybody, just like I said about the 30-day fixes, run away, go find Sarah.
Yeah, please. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear more about how you stay motivated. So one of the things that I've learned about myself, and I think this will be true for a lot of our listeners, is I'm an obliger. So there's this like 4 tendencies book and quiz, and obligers are people who do better when we are accountable to other people. We're not very good at being internally motivated. So that is a huge way that I am consistent with my exercise is I physically leave my house and I sign up for things. And I know that there are people on the other end waiting and expecting for me to show up, and I will show up. Whereas if I say, oh, I'm going to do a home workout and I'm only committed to myself, I am not doing the home workout. So I'll link to that if that is something you want to know, kind of what your motivator is. But what are some of the things that help you to stay motivated, Kate?
Well, I would put myself in the same category as you. So I have had a personal trainer or two the last 20 plus years of my life. I prefer group classes. I sometimes will work out on my own, but when I work out on my own, I really only do the things that I like. Right? I don't work on my weaknesses and limitations. I do the things that I like, which is fine sometimes. But for the most part, I also am a people pleaser. So having some good coaches and turning up in classes really, really works well. And I think it also, women are so busy. We put so much pressure on ourselves, and we have to, make lunches and make sure people go to bed and wake up and get work. Like, we do so many things, make so many decisions all day long. I honestly think the best thing women can do is get themselves a coach or two, and just stop thinking about it. It's so easy. You just show up, you do what someone else says. It's the most brain relaxing part of my week. It's really just like the best thing you can do for yourself, whether it's a group or a private, but it just makes it easy. You take all that pressure away.
I know. You said that to me, and you were totally right, that it is such a nice mental break to not have to think about what I'm doing. I just have to listen and execute and then not think. Yeah. It's great.
And then not think. Yeah. We all need more not thinking in our lives,
We do. I just did a whole episode on mental fatigue. So this is one of the things that you can do to alleviate your mental fatigue and your decision fatigue is have someone tell you what to do when you're working out.
Yeah. Yeah. We deserve that.
We do deserve that.
So good. Yeah.
Kate, thank you so much for being here and for sharing all of your wisdom. Anything else that you want to make sure that you tell our listeners before we wrap up?
Well, anyone who's listening that wants to come in and get a little support with their fitness, we've got a 2-week trial at the gym for $49 to try all of our group fitness, which includes online classes. And then there's a personal training trial as well. Everyone can have a free consult. So you can sit down with me or one of the other managers and tell us all about yourselves, and we can figure out how we can help. But we specialize in very busy women and moms. So men too.
Men too.
Yeah, men too. We let them in as well.
But honestly, your gym is the most family-friendly gym. Like I've got my son to my personal training. I bring my son to the summer boot camps. Yeah. It's very family-friendly.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, there's a way to do it for everyone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Little dog barking here.
Yeah.
She thinks she's so big. But yes, so come in, send us a message. We can sit down with you and help you get started.
Amazing. Thank you. So if you're noticing body changes and you're ready to ditch the scale and focus on your strength and healthy aging and feeling comfortable and confident in your body, I want to tell you about Midlife Metabolism Demystified. This is an event I created to help cut through the confusion and diet culture bullshit aimed at women in our 40s. If dieting was going to work, it would have worked by now. If you're ready to move beyond the number on the scale and take good care of your changing body, get on the wait list for Midlife Metabolism Demystified, happening in the fall of 2024 at fatiguefixer.ca/waitlist. Because I don't know about you, but I can't think of anything sadder than being in my 70s and still trying to shrink myself and worrying about how much I weigh. If you want to cultivate a different relationship with your body in the second half of your life, Get your name on the wait list for Midlife Metabolism Demystified at www.fatiguefixer.ca/waitlist.
Sounds awesome, Sarah.
Thank you.
Sounds like everyone needs it.
We all do. It was a great event. I ran it earlier this year, so I'm going to run it again. I also think it's important to ask yourself if you're okay with how much mental, emotional, and physical energy you're using up right now trying to get the scale to change. How would it feel to focus on strength and what your body is able to do rather than what it looks like? You're stronger than you think, and I know it takes mental strength to unlearn and reject what diet culture taught us about exercise and what a healthy body should look like. So you can spend your time and energy trying to make yourself small, or you can focus on getting stronger. I know which I'll be choosing, and I think I know which one Kate will be choosing too.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I will see you back here in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for spending your precious time with me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean so much to me if you would take a moment to leave us a rating and review, and share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it. If you're ready to get more insight into what's making you tired, find out which of the 5 most common types of fatigue you're dealing with by taking my fatigue fingerprint quiz at fatiguefixer.ca/quiz. Are you dealing with frazzled fatigue, where your body's exhausted but your brain won't shut up? Or maybe you're more of the drained fatigue type, where no matter how much sleep you get, you struggle to get up in the morning. Just take my fatigue fingerprint quiz and you'll have more insight into which labs to ask your doctor for and what habits and practices are best for fixing your type of fatigue. Find the quiz at fatiguefixer.ca/quiz. Because let's face it, accepting perpetual exhaustion as the norm, that's just not going to fly around here. Last but not least, I want to thank Jen Hudson and Mike Trutler over at Story Studio Network for bringing these conversations to life. I'll see you right back here in 2 weeks. Bye.